So I began seeking financial advice when I was about 25 years old. I had just gotten into my career, started earning a salary and commissions and bonuses like that. And I thought I should be doing the responsible thing and starting to put some money away. So that's when I reached out to Jason Stalker of World Source Financial here in Winnipeg and met with him. We really hit it off together. We had a great meeting, and that began my journey working with a financial advisor. The overall financial process was great. It was really nice to sit down and see what your financial future looks like. For any layman, we get a paycheck, we put some aside, but it's really hard to know from a long-term perspective, what does that look like? What is this? Let's use round numbers. Say I'm saving $500 a month. What does that look like in the long term? So it's really interesting to hear from his perspective. If you're saving X amount a month, this is what it's going to equate to by the time you retire. And they talk about different, factors in the market, things that can change, explaining things like compounding interest, all the things you hear about in university, but don't really pay attention to after the exam. It was really interesting to see a real life-like example of putting X amount of dollars aside and seeing what it turns into in the future. Actually, about a year ago this time, my wife and I were purchasing another rental property. So we went and met with our financial advisor, ran through kind of the numbers with him, and he advised that, yeah, this seems like a great investment. I endorsed this purchase. We had just had a baby a few months earlier. And during that meeting, we kind of talked about some of our bigger goals with investing. And one of the things was buying, kind of our dream home for our family. So we ran through the numbers and things like that and kind of said, like, okay, we think we'll be probably a couple years away from this purchase. Later on that year in December, we weren't actively looking or anything, but a house popped up that a friend was selling, and it was the perfect house for our family. And so we called up our financial advisor, Jason, and said, hey, this is kind of spur of the moment, a little bit spontaneous, but we want to know, what are your thoughts on it if we purchase this? What does that look like for our long-term financial future? And Jason was able to use the Conquest software, plug in all the numbers, and then, give us the advice that, this purchase right now is not going to impact your long-term financial goals. So he endorsed the purchase, and we ended up purchasing our new family home that we're living in right now. So I find the client portal very valuable because it can spit out a bunch of different variables. Right? There's no one hard and fast concrete plan you ever have when you're planning your financial future. It's really hard to look at to say, let's say, is $700 a month enough to put aside every month, and where does that leave us at the retirement age? What about $1,000 a month? How does that change our retirement age? What if we want to retire at 55 instead of 60? What do we need to do every month to get there? So being an organized person, I really like the fact that you can spit out any sort of numbers into it, but then it will tell you exactly what you need to do to get to that point. So I find that really valuable. I find it valuable to have a roadmap and be able to try different variables to achieve your goals. Obviously, a person like myself, I'm not able just to do all these calculations on my own. It's great to have, powerful software that can help me achieve my financial goals by calculating all these different variables and scenarios, and then I can decide which one is best for me, myself, our family, all those types of things. So I think the biggest thing that I find most useful and beneficial is actually just the peace of mind it gives you. So as I mentioned before, it's hard to know what saving $1,000 a month looks like long term. But when you're plugging in these variables into the software, it's doing all these calculations behind the scenes, all the things it's factoring into these calculations. It gives you the peace of mind knowing that the number that comes out at the end is the number that you're going to be working with moving forward. versus the number that I might calculate on my own, and it might be vastly different from that. So the biggest thing I find, it gives you the peace of mind working with that software along with your financial advisor, lets me know that I'm in a good place moving forward. I think it's very natural for everyone to have different sorts of worries about money, but with this software, it really takes a lot of the worrying out of it. The software will tell you, in order to achieve this goal, this is what you need to do today. So it lets you know what I'm doing today is going to get me to where I want to be moving forward. Conquest software, along with meeting with my financial advisor on a regular basis, has improved my financial management to the future, really based on the fact that now I have a roadmap. I have something to follow. If things change in my life, it's very easy to call up my financial advisor, discuss these changes with him, discuss the goals with him, and now we can input all of these different variables into the software, and now it can maybe change our roadmap. You know, anytime you use Google Maps, for example, you plug in your destination and it'll give you a couple different routes based on time. And it's really nice with Conquest that we can plug in these different variables and it'll give us a couple different routes based on the variables that we plug into things. So we can choose what map is best for us at the time. My biggest piece of advice would be to start when you're young. Thankfully, I started when I was relatively young. And I think a lot of people in their late teens, early 20s, kind of in that age, can maybe be hesitant to reach a financial advisor because maybe they think they're not making enough money right now. They don't have enough money to invest. What does investing $50 a month really do? Maybe they think it's more valuable to have that money in their pocket at the time. But when you meet with a financial advisor and you use software like Conquest, it really shows you the time value of money, what your money today looks like 40 years or 50 years from now. And the other concept is compounding interest. So it's really interesting to see on the software, discussing with a financial advisor, that what you're investing today, even if it's a small amount of money, what that money can look like 40, 50 years from now, based on being in the market and seeing that interest compound. So my biggest piece of advice was, even if you don't think you have enough to invest, start investing young, because time is really just the most valuable commodity in this regard.